Bucknutters. It is Thursday, November 3rd, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin coming to you from a pitch black early morning Gem City, talking to the one and only Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, on the move from Indianapolis International Airport, ready to board a flight to go check out some recruits in South Florida. Steve, how are you this fine morning?
Good morning, Daniel. I'm jacked up, man. Got to watch my Cubbies get a W last night, and then watched a little bit of the celebration, and then woke up a few hours later to get to the airport. I had to get up at 5, get cleaned up, get to the airport, about ready to board this flight in a couple minutes, so thank you for accommodating my early hour.
Where exactly are you headed, and who are you going to see?
I'm headed to Miami, and I'm going to be checking out the Hurricanes.
Right on. Huge visit weekend. Steve is obviously the recruiting guru from a national perspective, but Ohio State has an incredible list of recruits coming in this weekend. A couple guys that stand out to me. Anthony Hines, linebacker from Texas A&M, supposed to be going to Texas A&M. Is this a futile visit?
I think at this point, Anthony Hines is just enjoying the process and taking trips. I mean, he took an official to Penn State. I think he took one to Florida. I've already lost track. I think he's just going through the process and having fun. No better place to go check out than Ohio State. I suppose anytime a kid gets on Ohio State's campus, if the Buckeyes push for him, they have a chance. So we'll see, but I think he's just enjoying the process. I don't like to start on that note, though, so let's just jump right into Bubba Bolden, who I think Ohio State has a great chance at, and we've talked about it several times. But what a fantastic safety prospect he is. You got Sean Wade coming in, who's committed to Ohio State already, arguably the top corner in the country. You certainly put him in the discussion. That's a big visit as Ohio State's working to keep him in the fold, as the SEC powers and schools like Florida State working hard to try and get him to jump out of the boat. So a big visit. I think he's going to have a great time surrounded by Ohio State commits and potential future teammates. So good timing for Sean Wade to get to Columbus. So those are the two visits I really got my eye on this weekend for Ohio State. Bubba Bolden, the potential 5-star safety when it's all said and done, but certainly a big-time talent, top 100 type recruit, and then Sean Wade making his return to Columbus.
Bolden has been, according to Bill Kurelic, the player we should look for on commitment watch this weekend. What's your vibe on that?
Well, I don't argue with Bill Kurelic. I think obviously there's a lot of things going in Ohio State's favor. Bubba hasn't visited yet, but he's going to love it. He's going to be surrounded by high school teammates. He's going to see some familiar faces while he's on campus. Obviously, Ohio State's going to do a great job with the visit, as they typically do. So things are trending well for Ohio State and Bubba Bolden going into this visit.
That's a great point, as I screwed that up earlier. But Trevon Grimes, obviously St. Thomas Aquinas, but Tate Martell and Ty John Lindsay and Haskell Garrett will be there. So the idea that they're accompanying Bubba on the trip, I got to think works in their favor. I get the sense this is an Ohio State decision at this point from what Bill said. I think if they want to take him this weekend, he will commit. One guy that came up as I was reading through your responses, defensive end Stephen Herron out of the Louisville area. People might not know a lot about him. Why don't you inform them and where you think he's going to end up?
Yeah, he's the number 1 ranked player in Kentucky per 24/7 Sports 2019 recruit. I think we got him like number 19 overall in our top 100. My 24/7 Sports crystal ball reads Buckeyes for Stephen Herron Jr. I know that was a big-time offer for him when he got it. He's coming in on the visit. Obviously, 4 of Ohio State's top in-state targets will be on campus. Jackson Carman, Jalen Gill, Chris Oates, and Dallas Gant.
Yep.
Yeah, got those. I think those 4 will be Buckeyes when it's all said and done. Dallas Gant being maybe the one that Notre Dame has a puncher's chance at right now, but the other 3 certainly Buckeyes, and Dallas Gant I think will be a Buckeye, but I think that one's a little closer than the other 3. Seeing Dallas Gant arrive at Friday Night Lights with so many family members all decked out in Ohio State gear, that's etched in my mind. And I've seen Dallas Gant at other camps too. So that's a memory that sticks with me regarding Dallas Gant, one of the top recruits in the state of Ohio for 24/7 Sports.
Do you know if Darnay Holmes has committed for this visit or not?
I mean, I see him on the list on Bucknuts, and he's been the Friday Night Lights a couple times, and I know Ohio State's a top contender for him. But until I hear different, UCLA is where I expect Darnay Holmes to end up. 5-star corner, another guy that's in the discussion as the top corner in the country.
You talked about the Ohio guys. Jalen Gill got injured this season.
Yeah.
And he just took a visit to Michigan State. Do you feel Michigan State's the main player in the game, or do you think that's the guy just being diligent about his visits? Because I've really always felt Gill was kind of a lock.
I don't know if he's a lock, but I feel really good he's going to go to Ohio State. I know that Tony Alford and the Ohio State staff has done a great job getting to know Jalen and his family. I know Jalen's had good trips to the West Coast, enjoyed his time at UCLA. He likes Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Penn State, Tennessee. I mean, a lot to like about all those places, but again, I like where Ohio State stands with him compared to those other programs regarding Jalen Gill's recruitment. I think that he's just a guy that, highly recruited, going through the process, dotting his I's and crossing his T's. But Ohio State certainly has always made a strong impression on him.
Defensive lineman John Cage committed a long time ago. There was some whispers along the way that Notre Dame still may be interested and that the class was getting full, and given his ranking, he could have got, honestly, pushed out would be the wrong word. His brother attends Notre Dame, I believe, Daniel Cage. Do you see Jerron Cage as a guy who's going to lock up with Ohio State and stick with his commitment, or is that something Notre Dame is working on behind the scenes?
I think he's going to stick with Ohio State right now. I haven't heard anything otherwise to make me feel that he's not going to be a Buckeye. I mean, his brother was going to Notre Dame when he committed to Ohio State, right? So,
sure.
That, I mean, I can't say 100% that he's going to stick with Ohio State, but I haven't heard anything that makes me think that he's not going to go there. The only reason why I don't say 100% is because it's recruiting.
Sure.
Maybe I'll get some news later, but there's nothing I can say on the Bucknuts Morning 5 this morning that says that he's going to flip. He's been at every Notre Dame home game, I think, this year. So that's certainly, obviously his brother plays there. Is there more motive than going to see your brother play? I don't really dig on that one for a number of reasons. But I haven't heard anything that makes me think he's going to flip. Because I have a crystal ball ticket for the Buckeyes. I'm trying to hit 90% this year, so that's the one I would need to sniff out and get right. No one's ever hit 90% for a full recruiting cycle. I've been in the high 80s a couple times. No one that's made a high volume of picks. So I've been close a couple times, patting myself on the back, but trying to get to 90 this year.
I have full confidence in you, and people should know that Steve is quite the competitive individual, so I bet on Wiltfong in that case. I looked at my stuff here. I know there was some discussion Zamir White, the running back, would possibly be here this weekend. Regardless, that's a big name when it comes to recruiting, national name.
Yeah.
Where do you see Ohio State in the mix? And maybe tell people a little bit about him. His name hasn't come up as much yet. I have a feeling it's one that's going to get really popular here in the next year or so.
Yeah, number one ranked running back in the country per 24/7 Sports. Ohio State's obviously already got a great running back committed in 2018. So one of the elite guys in America. So Zamir, if Ohio State doesn't hit at running back this year, they have J.K. Dobbins committed, and he's as good as it gets, but they need two. But if they only get one, it makes it a need again. It makes it a major need again next year, right? So they'll swing and try and hit on two of the best backs in America next year. But they already have one of them committed next year, just like they already have one of them committed this year. So they're building that depth chart back up at the running back position. Zamir, yeah, he's got his pick. He's an elite blue chip guy. He's made visits to all the high profile games so far this fall. I kind of feature a big home game atmosphere every week, and I feel like Zamir's been at like 3 of them. So if he makes it to Ohio State, listen, I'll leave you with this. I've been to a lot of college football games. I've been in a lot of great atmospheres. The best atmosphere I've ever been in on a game day was Ohio State hammering Penn State in a night game, Hackenberg's freshman year. It was just a bloodbath, and the stadium got louder and louder the whole night. You were actually there with your wife. It was a good time.
It was.
I think I sat next. Did I sit next to you? You got my tickets for me. You and
I even used that with my nephew.
Yeah, that was with one of your kin. But it was man, it was rocking in there, And I've been to 2 Ohio State games. Clear difference. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really had a good time at the day game too. Saw Dot the I for the first time, and it was a good college football atmosphere. There was a clear difference with that night game. And Penn State was ranked in the top 20. Bill O'Brien was the coach. Ohio State it was a bloodbath. And
it was great.
The kids are going to see a great atmosphere on Saturday night with Nebraska in town. And Nebraska's good, folks. I mean, they should beat Wisconsin. I was watching. I think the Cubs were on at the same time, so I was half watching that game. But I think they clearly lost the turnover battle, and that was the difference, right? So if Nebraska, when Tommy Armstrong's taking care of the football, they're tough to beat. So it'll be another grind for Ohio State and people. Hey, Ohio State, for everybody, football ebbs and flows, man, and you're trying to be hot at the end. You're trying to peak at the end. So people worried about Ohio State right now, you're just trying to get dubs or you're just trying to get wins right now and be in position to be hot in December and January. And Ohio State's still very much in that mix right now. They're just, they're not playing like the number 1 team in the country right now, but they still got that kind of talent walking around in the locker room. So they just gotta win out. I feel there's some angst on the front row. But for me, it's easy for me to take a step back and say, look, I think these guys will get it squared away and be playing championship caliber football when they need to.
Yeah, lest people forget the year they won the national championship. By the way, that was a great year. The Penn State year you're just referring to, they started out ranked 16th in the poll, so that doesn't matter.
I mean, Clemson should have lost to NC State, a missed shot field goal, but they're still in the field. So everybody's ebbing and flowing, and you just got to be hot. You got to rise to the occasion in big games. Ohio State has risen to the occasion in big games. Clemson has risen to the occasion in big games, and then you just got to find a scratch and claw your way to wins, which is what Ohio State has done the last 2 weeks. Northwestern was playing well going into that game,
No doubt.
So that was a good win. I mean, a win's a win, man. I mean, and you just know how hard they're working inside the Woody to get things clicking the way they want it to click. So I still have a lot of faith in the Buckeyes, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, my last quick comment on the Buckeyes, I want to ask you something about football in general. It's going to be nice to play a team that is coming off a night game at Wisconsin and us not being that team. I think that had a tremendous effect on the Penn State game. I think our offensive line, the young guys were tired and beat up. So we'll see how this weekend goes. It all comes down to the offensive line.
That game probably took a lot out of Nebraska, but Nebraska's been in some tough games this year as well. So they'll be battle tested when they come in there, and they got some guys that can score on one touch, and should be a good game. But the better team is the home team, so we'll see what happens.
Very quickly before you hop on the bird, what's your feeling on the Big Ten playing Friday night football games? Not just in a general sense. Hold on a sec, but how it could affect recruiting?
Well, it doesn't affect recruiting. I mean, it does affect recruiting in the sense that it takes a weekend off the table. I mean, that you can host recruits for the most part. Yeah. But, I mean, it's obvious. I've only skimmed articles. I read Hellwagon's article. I've seen some other stuff, but it's obvious, or it seems obvious that it's just a money grab because the fans don't like it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I don't like it because it kills a night game for recruiting.
Huh?
It kills a night game for recruiting.
Yeah, it does that too. In a school like Ohio State, and who's watching on a Friday? I mean, on a Friday night. I mean, how many days can you tell your wife you're watching a football game, man? I mean, I guess if it's your favorite, if it's your favorite team, you'll obviously watch it. If it's your favorite team, you'll obviously watch it. You know, and you got points. You'll say, "Why? I'm going to watch the Ohio State game. They play on Friday," but then, not watching any football on Saturday. Then probably, I don't know. I don't know how it works at other people's house. I get to watch football all day Saturday, but
you get to say it's your job.
Right.
You haven't added that into your wife's game. You got issues, bro.
No question. No question. I watch. I can watch as much college football as I want, but I don't watch hardly any NFL anymore. For one, because I don't want to anymore. I would rather hang with my family. But it's like we don't need Friday games. If I was just a regular guy, there's no way I'd watch that Friday game. Unless it was my favorite team, right? I mean, who? I don't know. It just maybe I'm wrong.
It depends I think it depends where you are on your social calendar and stuff. I don't think the Big Ten needs to do this. This is overkill. This is to me the NFL putting football on Thursday night. It's just overkill. So,
which I rarely watch. I rarely watch.
That's what I'm saying.
I rarely.
Good point.
Right. And so, it's oversaturated. Obviously, we're just echoing what many people have already said. But yeah, if you're over 30-something years old and you got a family, you're probably not watching this. You're right. In my 20s, I didn't miss really anything. I was up late, up early. Now there's better things to do than just watch sports. Keep it on Saturday.
Steve says that, by the way, as he's about to board a plane for Miami. So let's hope that theory holds when he gets out and smells that crisp ocean air and has the threat of Ocean Ave and the Clevelander in the back of his mind. But we will let Steve go. Steve, have a great, safe flight down to Florida, and we will check in with you next week, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.